Henri, welcome. Uh, Good that we found the time to have a bit of a discussion. So, can you quickly introduce yourself? You've been in the security world for a very long time. Can you tell a few things about yourself?
Sure. So I'm Henri. I've been working in technical security for the past 20 years, and I'm an angel investor and advisor in Valo.
Great.
In my day job, I work with securing business systems in the startup world and in the financial sector.
So, in your work securing business systems, what kind of challenges do you see your clients or companies in general having with these systems? Like they probably all know what good security looks like, but they don't necessarily always have the means of really reaching that. So, what kind of compromises do they have to make in order to meet their other goals?
Yeah, I see several different scenarios happening right now. One is the accumulation of technical debt. That's certainly one thing for bigger organizations who do mergers and acquisitions. Then the lack of, the least privilege principle. So basically, everybody knows that you should only grant the minimal set of accesses to a certain user or application user, but that's definitely not happening at the moment, and that's one of the reasons for that is the speed of development. You want to have the very great speed for doing new software development, and as you should have. And the problem for the security teams is that how you enable that speed.
So, what do you think that can be the kind of negative consequences of the technical debt, or maybe having overprivileged users in your environments?
Yeah, certainly. So in these situations, you also have the complexity, which Mika mentioned earlier. So with the complexity, you don't know the use cases for certain integration users, for example, and whether they are needed or not. And especially with the cloud-to-cloud connectivity, you don't have necessarily the visibility in the connections between different cloud systems, as traditional security teams are more looking at the endpoint and maybe on the identity, but whether the technical identities are part of the detection response framework, that's a completely different question.
Yeah. Well, you and I both remember the time when security teams were looking at the endpoints, and then they were looking at what's happening on the firewall at the company perimeter. But now with these cloud-to-cloud things, that's not happening. So how are businesses following what's happening between the clouds and between the different services and what's going on in there?
That's a very good question. And I think nowadays identity is becoming the security barrier or security boundary, basically. So the identity is the only thing which is there separating the different access levels to different business data. And especially if you allow the use of personal computers or personal mobile phones for accessing the business data, the only thing the organization then has is the identity, the secured identity and its username, password, multi-factor authentication, maybe device identity, but not all of the organizations are using the device identity nowadays.
Yeah, identity is definitely the new security boundary. I think that you're right about that. But now, in case of business systems like Salesforce, these systems generally have the license cost that you pay is based on the amount of users you have in that system. And now that sort of means that you don't necessarily want to create new users for every connection. If you have hundreds of integrations between different systems and applications, there is a strong probability that some of those connections will be built using the same identity. What kind of challenges do you think that this will cause for organizations if basically, especially if they mix and match like human accounts and then these computer accounts or non?
Yeah, what I've seen in real life, unfortunately, is that technical integration accounts are used by humans. And what that often then results to is when you even mix and match non-prod environments with production environments, you may be doing a password reset or changing the integration accounts, security mechanisms or tokens in the test environment, thinking that, hey, this is all fine. After all, it's a test account, but you end up breaking the production in the meanwhile. And this is often the case when you don't do enough separation between different integration accounts. And as you mentioned, the license cost is often the driver, and the ease of use. When you have just a single integration account, you can do different integrations very easily, but that's not a scalable way from security and compliance perspective.
Well, yeah, and it's not just the cost, like the ease of use. So for instance, in Salesforce, if you connect a new system, if you connect it as your own admin account, you just click on OK, basically. You accept the OAuth scope, and that's it. But then if you need to create an integration user and create a permission set that lists all the permissions that user has, that might take an hour or maybe even more if the permission set, if you don't know exactly what needs to be created. So I think that's one of the reasons why it's so easy to use your own account. But then there's also the problem that, okay, if your core integrations are using human accounts, what happens when the human leaves the organization?
Yeah, and that's the business continuity issue I've seen all the time. And it's so easy to create all these actual production business connections and connectivity with the personal access, personal OAuth tokens. That's the easy way of doing things. Unfortunately, easy doesn't always mean production quality.
All right. Now, I know that you've been looking at generative AI quite a bit and how that is used and how that is secured. What kind of security challenges do you see companies adopting generative AI, maybe not recognizing or like stumbling on?
Well, one of these is, of course, how you integrate these generative AI systems to your business systems, because you certainly won't be creating your own large language models. You'll be buying the AI access or AI processing from somebody else, and that's certainly one thing of how you really create the secured way of integrating it. Are you using, for us in the EU area, do you use the EU EEC data boundaries? Do you have the data in the right location? Are you processing the data in the right location? Also, when you start using the AI, when you create the AI use cases, have you planned the AI use cases that they are compliant with the EU AI Act, for example? And also, have you documented all of these in a sufficient manner? Do you have the visibility into your AI use? As an AI user myself, I've been doing code reviews for the past 1.5 years already now with AI, and certainly it's an enabler for business and security.
For sure, like there's no way around it. But generative AI is not always the only tool for a job, or maybe not even the right tool for their job. So have you experienced companies adapting generative AI also for use cases where maybe just a simple if then else would be enough?
Well, that's a interesting topic. That should you use AI or should you just use workflow automation? And I think right now we're talking about AI in a very large umbrella term, and often the case is that the workflow automation is the right tool for the job, whether it's RPA, robotic process automation, or actual business system process automation. That's a different topic altogether.